Brought to you by Friends, Counsel, and Agnes. TrusteeU, your online governance program for trustees.
So sometimes when I'm working with boards or just talking to people about what it's like to govern and how they can govern better, one of the things that oftentimes comes up is the concern about, sometimes from the head, saying, oh my gosh, if we unleash the board differently to have a different kind of dialogue in the boardroom, are they going to start to micromanage? And board members are oftentimes very aware too. If we ask a certain kind of question in the boardroom, are we overstepping? Are we micromanaging? Are we getting involved where we shouldn't? And is that going to end up being degenerative instead of generative? And so it does take a special relationship, I think, between the board and the head. And I think what's most required is respect and trust. And those things don't necessarily happen quickly. But I think for heads in particular, this takes a certain amount of vulnerability, because instead of having all the answers, the head is coming with questions, and the head is coming to the board to ask questions and get their board to dialogue differently and ask different kinds of questions. And that's a very different scenario than the head having all the answers or the board having all the answers. And many board members, they think that they're in the room because they're supposed to have all of the answers. This kind of different way of governing actually is about having better questions and being a little more skeptical and actually pushing back and pushing our own thinking. And you can't do that if you're simply asserting right answers. So there's a certain vulnerability for heads and board members in this different way of governing, but it is all to the good when it happens right. And it actually, I think, helps board members not overstep, because if you think about the board engaging differently and at the headwaters of a decision, they're much more less apt to overstep than when a decision is all the way downstream and it's already into tactics. And then if the board jumps in there, the staff is going to bristle, because they're saying, we've got that handled. Why are you asking me questions about marketing? That's my job. Or about advancement? That's my job. Or about the finances? That's my job as the business officer. Rather, the board is asking a different kind of question and getting engaged actually at the right level. And sometimes you hear people say, well, the board should be engaged at 30,000 feet. That's the idea here, is to get the questions up higher on that curve. There are higher level fiduciary questions, higher level strategic questions, and then these really high level types of generative questions. But it does take a relationship that says, okay, we're willing to try this, we're willing to be vulnerable together, we're willing to ask questions instead of assert opinions and have all the right answers. But as I said, it really, really creates a special bond then between the board and the head, and it really helps with the school making better decisions ultimately.